Have you thought about this? What if Kapha in the sixth house does not first show up as illness in the body, but as slowness in the inner response system? What if before the body becomes congested, the mind becomes fixed? What if before digestion becomes heavy, emotion becomes withdrawn? What if before disease becomes visible, the person quietly starts avoiding effort, avoiding change, and avoiding confrontation? Today, you and I are exploring a subtler but extremely important dimension of Jyotish and Ayurveda, Kapha increasing in the sixth house, especially in its mental and emotional expression. The sixth house is associated with disease, hygiene, critical thought, the small intestine, spleen, lower back region, immune system, and adrenal response. In a broader Jyotish Ayurveda framework, Kapha aggravation is associated with heaviness, weak digestion, excess sleep, coldness, sluggish metabolism, and congestion. But here is what many students miss. The sixth house is also the house of how you process problems, not just disease, not just enemies, not just obstacles. It shows how you deal with friction, how you analyze difficulty, how you respond to what irritates you, how you digest the unfinished business of life. So when Kapha rises here, the result is not always dramatic conflict. Very often it is slow, fixed, comfort-seeking resistance, and that creates a fascinating pattern. The healthy side of Kapha in the sixth house first. Let us be fair to Kapha. Kapha is not the enemy. Kapha gives stability. Kapha gives patience. Kapha gives steadiness. Kapha gives endurance. Kapha gives long-term consistency. So in its balanced form, Kapha in the sixth house can make a person careful in thinking, patient in analysis, measured in judgment, steady under pressure, and capable of handling practical routines over a long period. This is the kind of person who does not rush every decision. They can process slowly. They can remain committed. They can build healing through repetition. They may have real strength in disciplined service, caregiving, systematic healing, and long-term therapeutic work. And for a healer, this can be a gift. Because not every healer needs to be fiery. Some healers restore others through grounded presence. Some healers help because they do not panic. Some healers carry a stabilizing field, but you need to deeply reflect upon the shadow side. When Kapha becomes excessive in the sixth house, when Kapha crosses the line from stability into excess, the same strengths begin to harden. Steady thinking becomes mental dullness. Patience becomes procrastination. Consistency becomes rigidity. Calmness becomes avoidance, containment becomes suppression, and that is where the sixth house starts to reveal its deeper psychological burden. The person may begin to think slowly and feel slowly, not in a wise contemplative way, but in a stuck way. Thoughts can become fixed, behavior can become repetitive. Change can feel burdensome. Effort can feel heavy before it even begins. So instead of facing a problem directly, the person may postpone it. Instead of processing discomfort, they may sit with it until it becomes part of the routine. Instead of speaking clearly, they may withdraw. Instead of confronting resentment, they may absorb it silently. And this is where the emotional dimension becomes profound. Emotional expression of sixth house Kapha. The emotional field here often becomes suppressed, withdrawn, comfort-seeking, avoidant, and quietly resentful. Not explosive resentment, not dramatic confrontation, but passive resentment. This is the person who does not always say what they feel. They may avoid difficult conversations. They may fear disruption more than suffering. They may choose familiarity over truth. They may seek comfort through food, routine, emotional retreat, or low-effort coping patterns. That is a serious healing insight, because the sixth house is where unresolved inner friction becomes daily pattern. And Kapha in excess does not always express pain outwardly. It can bury it inwardly. So you may see a person who looks composed but is internally heavy, a person who appears patient but is emotionally disengaged, a person who seems low conflict but is actually avoiding growth, a person who claims peace but is really attached to emotional stagnation. Is it possible that what looks like maturity is sometimes just withdrawal? Is it possible that what looks like emotional control is actually emotional sediment? That is the question this placement forces us to ask. The role of Moon, Jupiter, and Venus. Now let us bring in the planetary indications shown in this teaching. Moon, Jupiter, and Venus. These planets deepen the Kapha psychology in very specific ways. Moon governs mind, emotions, food, water, fluids, and emotional receptivity. It is also linked with lethargy, drowsiness, digestive complaints, water retention, and phlegmatic states. In the dosha framework, moon has a vata kapha nature, and when kapha dominates, the pattern tends toward heaviness, excess sleep, weak digestion, and emotional saturation. So, in the sixth house, moon can make emotional processing sticky. The person may hold on to old feelings. They may self-soothe through food. They may retreat into private moods. They may avoid direct confrontation because emotional movement itself feels exhausting. This is emotional congestion. Jupiter. Jupiter is associated with fat tissue, abdominal organs, sweet taste, and lymphatic or circulatory congestion. In the broader dosha mapping, Jupiter is strongly kapha linked and can amplify accumulation, lethargy, and metabolic slowness when imbalanced. Psychologically, Jupiter here can make the person justify their own stagnation. They may have wise language but slow action. They may understand healing beautifully but fail to implement it. They may expand comfort instead of expanding consciousness. That is one of the most dangerous forms of kapha imbalance, intelligent inertia. Venus is linked with water, reproductive tissues, kidneys, bladder, refined food, and sensory comfort. It carries a kapha vata tendency in the dosha framework. In the sixth house, Venus can increase comfort-seeking responses to stress. The person may medicate discomfort through sweetness, pleasure, passivity, aesthetic indulgence, or attachment to familiar emotional rituals. They may not process pain directly. They may soften it, decorate it, sedate it, or delay it. This is why some people do not heal by rest alone, because what they call rest is actually avoidance wrapped in comfort. What this looks like in real life you may observe: mental dullness, fixed thinking, resistance to change, procrastination, avoidance of effort, emotional suppression, fear of confrontation, passive resentment, comfort seeking through food attachment to routine withdrawn feeling states, and a tendency to remain in manageable discomfort rather than enter transformative discomfort. This is classic excess kapha in the sixth house psychological field. And if you're a practitioner, this is where you must be both compassionate and clear. Do not shame the person for being slow, but do not romanticize their stagnation either. They do not only need soothing, they need activation, they need circulation, they need emotional honesty. They need routine that heals rather than routine that preserves dysfunction. The spiritual lesson of Kapha in the sixth house is powerful. You are learning that not all suffering comes from intensity. Some suffering comes from inertia. Not all bondage comes from chaos. Some bondage comes from comfort. Not all disease comes from aggression. Some disease comes from what was never moved, never spoken, never released, never challenged. This house teaches that healing requires effort. Sacred effort, consistent effort, embodied effort. The sixth house does not ask whether healing feels pleasant. It asks whether healing is being practiced. So if kapha is excessive here, the medicine is not violence toward the self. It is intelligent mobilization. Move the body, move the lymph, move the emotions, move the truth, move the routine from passive repetition into conscious discipline. Because once life starts moving again, kapha becomes a blessing. Then steadiness returns as strength. Then patience returns as wisdom. Then routine returns as devotion. Then service returns as healing power. And that is the real beauty of this combination. For the healer, it creates grounded therapeutic presence. For the physician, it reveals a pattern beneath symptoms. For the astrology student, it shows how the sixth house is not just about disease, but about the psychology of disorder and the discipline of correction. So ask yourself honestly, where have I become slow in facing what must be addressed? Where have I mistaken emotional withdrawal for peace? Where have I chosen comfort over transformation? Where has routine become a hiding place? That is where this placement begins to speak.